A lot of guys today are trying so hard to be what they think women want: flawless, confident, successful, always in control. But here's the truth that most men don't realize until it's too late. She doesn't want perfect, she wants real. She wants someone who's grounded enough to be himself, not performing a version of what he thinks she'll approve of. In a world that constantly tells men to man up or hide what they feel, many have lost touch with who they really are. They chase an image instead of identity. They measure their worth by how much they make, how they look, or how smooth they sound in conversation. But inside, they're drained, anxious, or even numb. And that's not strength, that's survival mode. What most women find truly attractive isn't perfection, it's presence, it's emotional clarity, quiet confidence, and a sense of inner peace that can't be faked. When you're comfortable with your flaws, when you accept that you're still learning, still growing, still human, that's when you become magnetic. Psychology backs this up. Studies show that authenticity and emotional stability create deeper attraction than physical traits or social status ever could. Because real connection only happens when someone feels safe enough to be seen. And a man who's in tune with himself, who listens, reflects, and doesn't crumble under pressure, gives off that safety effortlessly. So instead of chasing perfection, start nurturing your mind and emotions. Build habits that make you feel strong, not just look strong. Get some sunlight, move your body, journal your thoughts, unplug when you need to. Learn to enjoy your own company. That's how you build real confidence. Not the loud kind, but the kind that speaks even when you're silent. At the end of the day, being real doesn't mean being weak. It means being honest. And when you live from that space, you stop trying to prove your worth because you already know it. That's what she's looking for. Not perfection, just truth. Most men grow up believing that if they could just become perfect, everything else would fall into place. The perfect body, the perfect career, the perfect way of speaking, dressing, or moving through the world, all in the hope that perfection will earn them love, respect, and validation. But that belief quietly destroys more confidence than failure ever will, because it keeps you living for approval rather than truth. Authenticity, on the other hand, is not about being flawless. It's about being real enough to own your flaws without shame. It's a shift from performance to presence, from impressing to connecting, from pretending to becoming. A man who lives authentically doesn't need to manipulate how others see him. He's too focused on living in alignment with who he really is. And that more than any polished version of yourself is what people, especially women, are drawn to. You can feel authenticity when someone walks into a room. There's a quiet confidence, a natural ease. They're not trying to prove anything. Their energy isn't desperate for validation. They're just there fully themselves. And that energy is magnetic because it feels safe. People sense that you're not pretending, that you're not hiding, and that honesty creates connection at a level that words can't. The human brain is wired to detect incongruence. When someone says one thing but their energy communicates another, we feel uneasy, even if we can't explain why. That's why fake confidence or forced charm rarely last, because deep down we all crave realness. Authenticity builds trust, and trust builds attraction. In psychology, authenticity is tied closely to congruence, the alignment between your thoughts, feelings, and actions. When what you think, feel, and do are in harmony, you radiate integrity. You stop sending mixed signals to yourself and others. The opposite of that is what so many people live in daily: internal conflict. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you're hurt. You pretend to be confident when you're actually anxious. Over time, that disconnect creates emotional fatigue. You stop recognizing your own reflection. You lose track of what's genuine desire and what's social pressure. You start living someone else's version of success. Authenticity is the process of coming back home to yourself, learning to hear your own voice again instead of the noise of expectations. The challenge is that society rarely rewards authenticity in men. From a young age, boys are told to suppress emotion, to be strong, to compete, to never show weakness. The cultural script glorifies control and stoicism, but rarely emotional honesty. As a result, many men grow up equating vulnerability with failure. They wear masks: the confident guy, the funny guy, the tough guy, and those masks become prisons. They can attract attention, but not connection, because while perfection can impress people, only authenticity can touch them. And a relationship built on performance will always require more performance. The moment you relax or reveal your real self, you fear losing what you built. That's why authenticity isn't just attractive, it's liberating. It frees you from the exhausting task of pretending. Women often sense when a man is performing. You can say the right words, make the right moves, but if the energy behind it is insecurity or overcompensation, it doesn't land. Real confidence is quiet because it comes from within, not from validation. When you're authentic, you stop needing constant reassurance. You're no longer chasing approval because you're grounded in self-respect. That doesn't mean arrogance or indifference. It means you value yourself enough not to betray who you are just to be liked. Paradoxically, that kind of self-possession is what makes people lean in. They feel your calm, they feel your steadiness, and they want to be near it because authenticity communicates strength in the most subtle way. The strength to be unafraid of being seen. One of the most misunderstood ideas in dating psychology is that attraction is a formula. Say this, do that, act this way, as if people were puzzles to be solved. But true connection can't be reverse engineered through tactics. It happens when two people feel emotionally safe enough to drop their guards. That safety only exists when one or both are real. Think about the moments in your life when you felt closest to someone. It wasn't when they were perfect, it was when they were honest. When they admitted they were scared or flawed or uncertain and you saw yourself in them, that's the moment connection happens. Authenticity breaks walls because vulnerability is the most courageous form of truth from a psychological perspective. People who live authentically report higher levels of life satisfaction, resilience, and self-esteem. When you don't have to fake anything, your nervous system relaxes. You stop constantly monitoring how you're being perceived. You conserve emotional energy because you're not juggling personas. That peace translates into presence, and presence is rare. In an age where everyone is curating their image online, a man who's just real, calm, grounded, and unbothered by the pressure to appear perfect stands out. He's the contrast in a world of filters. That's why authenticity doesn't need marketing. It's felt authenticity also requires courage because it means risking rejection for who you truly are. When you stop performing, not everyone will like you. Some people are addicted to the illusion, but that's the trade-off. You lose approval, but you gain self-respect. You stop being chosen for the mask and start being valued for the man behind it. The more you live in alignment with your truth, the less you need external validation. You start noticing how peace feels better than attention, how solitude feels better than shallow company, how slow growth feels better than fast approval. This internal shift rewires how you show up in every area of life. You no longer chase people, opportunities, or outcomes. You attract what resonates with your authenticity, and this doesn't mean you never improve yourself. Growth and authenticity go hand in hand. It's not about rejecting progress, it's about pursuing it without pretending. You can work on your health, mindset, or finances while still being open about your journey. The lie is thinking you must arrive before you're worthy of love or respect. You don't have to be perfect to be valuable. You just have to be honest about where you are and committed to becoming more of who you're meant to be. When you stop hiding your imperfections, you stop fearing exposure. When you stop fearing exposure, you start living freely. That freedom is what people truly find magnetic. Authenticity also changes how you communicate. Instead of trying to say the right thing, you start saying the true thing. You listen more than you talk. You respond rather than react. You express rather than impress. That shift from performance to presence deepens every conversation. You don't need clever lines or strategies. You just need awareness. When you're authentic, your tone, body language, and words all align, and that congruence builds trust. People may not remember exactly what you said, but they'll remember how safe they felt around you. That's emotional intelligence in action. It's not about being overly emotional. It's about being emotionally aware. Knowing what you feel, why you feel it, and choosing to express it with calm honesty. To live authentically, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. It means sitting with uncertainty, admitting when you're wrong, being honest even when it's inconvenient. But with each act of truth, you strengthen your integrity, and integrity is the backbone of self-confidence. The more you keep your word, the more your subconscious begins to trust you. You stop seeking reassurance from others because you've built it within yourself. You start realizing that authenticity isn't something you do, it's something you allow. It's what's left when you stop trying to be what you think you should be. The irony is, when you finally let go of trying to be perfect, you become infinitely more appealing. Because perfection creates distance. People admire but don't relate to it. Authenticity creates connection. People see themselves in it. The cracks in your armor are what make you human. The courage to be seen, flaws and all, is what makes you powerful. And that power doesn't shout. It radiates quietly through how you carry yourself, how you listen, how you treat others, and how you handle life's inevitable messiness. Authenticity transforms relationships, but it also transforms solitude. When you're real with yourself, being alone stops feeling like loneliness and starts feeling like peace. You no longer need constant distraction or validation to feel okay. You find contentment in your own company because you're no longer pretending. You trust your thoughts, your choices, your intuition. That's where true confidence comes from. Not the external applause, but the internal alignment. When your private life and public life match, when your words match your actions, when your mind and your heart are on the same page, you feel solid. And people feel that solidity around you. That's what draws the right kind of people into your life and filters out the wrong kind. Authenticity also brings clarity. When you're no longer chasing approval, you start to see who's really meant for you. Some people will fall away, not because you've changed, but because you've stopped pretending. That's a natural part of growth. You can't be authentic and please everyone at the same time, and you're not supposed to. Life gets lighter when you stop carrying the weight of perception. Every time you choose truth over image, you reclaim energy that was being drained by performance. You stop trying to be understood by everyone and start being at peace with yourself. That shift is the foundation of emotional independence. Knowing that your worth isn't tied to who accepts you or rejects you. Authenticity doesn't make life easier. It makes it real. And real is better than easy. Real means you feel things deeply, you face things honestly, you own your story fully. It's not about perfection, it's about integrity. It's not about never failing, it's about never faking. And when you live that way, everything changes. How you love, how you work, how you show up for yourself and others. You stop performing for the world and start belonging to yourself again. Because that's the real goal, not to be perfect, but to be whole. Confidence has become one of the most misunderstood words in modern culture. People often confuse it with loudness, dominance, or the ability to take control of a room. But true confidence isn't something you perform, it's something you live. It's not built on bravado or external achievements. It's rooted in emotional awareness and stability. When your emotions aren't controlling you, when you understand what triggers you and why, when you can stay centered even when things don't go your way, that's real confidence. It's quiet, grounded, and unshakable. It doesn't need to be announced, it's simply felt. The kind of man who carries that energy doesn't need to prove his worth, because he's already anchored in it. He doesn't depend on the world to tell him who he is. His validation comes from within. Men today are living in a world that constantly pressures them to prove themselves. Social media, comparison culture, unrealistic expectations, they all whisper the same lie: you're only as valuable as your success, your looks, or your bank account. And that constant chase for external validation leaves men emotionally exhausted. They're trying to look confident rather than be confident. But here's the truth. Emotional awareness and stability are what give rise to authentic confidence. When you understand your inner world, you become less reactive to the outer one. You stop being a slave to other people's opinions. You begin to act from clarity rather than insecurity. You learn that emotional control isn't suppression, it's understanding. Emotional awareness starts with honesty, asking yourself what you're actually feeling and why. Most men have been conditioned to bury emotion under logic, humor, or distraction. They've been told to stay strong, which often means staying silent. But emotions don't disappear just because they're ignored. They build up and eventually leak out through anger, apathy, or anxiety. The emotionally aware man doesn't deny what he feels. He names it, he observes it, and he chooses his response consciously. That's power. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is automatic, response is intentional. The more aware you become of your emotional patterns, the less control they have over you. That's where stability begins psychologically. Emotional awareness is tied to emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize and regulate your emotions and empathize with others. Research shows that people with high emotional intelligence perform better at work, have healthier relationships, and experience greater life satisfaction. It's not just about feeling, it's about managing what you feel with wisdom. A confident man doesn't deny that he gets hurt, frustrated, or afraid. He simply doesn't let those emotions dictate his identity. He knows emotions are temporary states, not permanent truths. When you stop identifying with every thought or feeling, you gain freedom. That freedom creates inner calm, and calmness is one of the most underrated forms of strength. Confidence also comes from consistency. When your habits align with your values, your brain starts to trust you. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you strengthen your self-belief. Confidence isn't born from motivation, it's built from repetition. You don't wake up confident, you build it brick by brick through discipline, honesty, and self-respect. That's why emotional stability matters so much. Without it, discipline collapses the moment emotions change. You can't build consistency on chaos, but when you're emotionally grounded, you can stay focused even when things feel uncertain. You don't need perfect circumstances to stay steady. That's what makes you trustworthy, not just to others, but to yourself. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and it's subtle but profound. Arrogance is insecurity disguised as superiority. It feeds on comparison. It needs others to feel small for it to feel big. Confidence, on the other hand, is quiet assurance. It doesn't need to compete or compare. A confident man celebrates others without feeling threatened because his value isn't diminished by someone else's success. That's emotional maturity, knowing that your worth is intrinsic, not conditional. The arrogant man depends on validation. The confident man generates it from within. And that's why women and people in general are drawn to emotionally stable men. They feel safe around them. Their calm creates space for others to relax and be themselves. When your self-worth depends on external validation, your emotions will always be unstable. If people approve of you, you're happy. If they don't, you're miserable. That's a fragile foundation to live on. But when your sense of worth comes from living in alignment with your values, your peace no longer depends on circumstances. You stop chasing the highs and fearing the lows. You realize that external success doesn't create lasting confidence. Internal stability does. It's what allows you to stay grounded when things fall apart. You can lose a job, a relationship, an opportunity, and still not lose yourself. That's the kind of confidence that can't be faked because it's built on understanding, not illusion. Emotional independence means you take responsibility for your inner state. You stop expecting others to fix you or make you feel whole. That doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you own your healing. You stop outsourcing happiness to other people or situations. This shift changes everything about how you show up in relationships. You no longer enter them from a place of need, but from a place of abundance. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone to grow with you. That emotional balance makes relationships healthier because you're not clinging or controlling. You're not seeking validation. You're sharing value. When both people are emotionally aware and independent, love becomes partnership, not dependency. It's also important to understand that emotional stability doesn't mean emotionlessness. Some men mistake stoicism for strength, but suppressing emotion isn't the same as mastering it. Real strength is the ability to feel deeply without losing direction. It's being vulnerable enough to be honest about what you feel, but strong enough not to be consumed by it. It's crying when you need to, but still standing tall the next day. It's expressing frustration without becoming destructive. This balance comes from self-awareness, knowing what emotions are visiting you, why they're there, and when to let them go. When you develop that kind of awareness, you stop fearing your feelings. You realize they're messages, not threats. Confidence that comes from emotional awareness is more sustainable than confidence that comes from external success. Because external things fluctuate. Careers change, looks fade, approval shifts, but self-awareness only deepens with time. You can't lose what's built inside you. That's why emotionally grounded people age gracefully. They're not chasing youth or validation because they've built peace that doesn't depend on appearance or popularity. Their confidence evolves with them. It's not rooted in what they have but in who they become. And that kind of confidence radiates authenticity. It's what makes a man not just attractive, but admirable. A big part of emotional stability is learning to regulate stress and uncertainty. Life will always test your balance, challenges at work, conflicts in relationships, unexpected losses. But when you've developed emotional awareness, you respond to these challenges with perspective instead of panic. You recognize that discomfort doesn't mean danger. You pause before reacting. You breathe. You take time to understand what's really happening instead of letting fear dictate your choices. That ability to stay composed under pressure makes you resilient. Resilience isn't the absence of struggle. It's the ability to remain steady through it. And that steadiness is what makes confidence believable. People trust men who remain calm in chaos because it shows emotional strength. Building emotional stability also requires healthy routines. The state of your body influences the state of your mind. Sleep, exercise, nutrition, and mindfulness all affect your emotional regulation. When you neglect your health, your emotional balance weakens. When you care for your body, your mind follows. That's why confidence is holistic. It's not just psychological, it's physical, emotional, and spiritual. The more balanced your lifestyle, the more grounded your emotions. And the more grounded your emotions, the more authentic your confidence. You don't need to fake composure when your lifestyle naturally supports it. That's why simple habits like walking, journaling, or spending time in nature have such powerful effects. They quiet the noise, allowing you to reconnect with yourself. Another layer of emotional stability comes from perspective. When you understand that life's challenges are not personal attacks but opportunities for growth, you stop resisting them. Every setback becomes a lesson in patience, humility, or self-control. Emotionally stable people see struggle as training, not punishment. They know that adversity builds depth and that depth builds confidence. It's hard to shake someone who has learned from pain. They don't fear failure because they've already faced it and discovered it's survivable. And once you stop fearing failure, your confidence grows exponentially because you no longer live defensively. You live with openness and curiosity, knowing that everything you face teaches you something valuable about yourself. Confidence built on emotional awareness also changes how you relate to others. You stop taking things personally. You realize that most people's behavior says more about their internal world than about you. That understanding saves you from unnecessary conflict and insecurity. You start responding to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness. You learn to listen without absorbing negativity. You become selective about where you invest your energy. This emotional detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. You can empathize without losing boundaries. That's emotional mastery. It's what allows you to maintain peace in a chaotic world. It's what keeps your confidence intact even when people misunderstand you. Many men believe they have to constantly be strong for everyone else, but real strength also involves asking for help when you need it. Emotional awareness includes knowing your limits and seeking support instead of numbing yourself. It's recognizing that needing help doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It takes courage to be honest about your struggles. That kind of honesty builds deeper relationships because it allows others to show up for you authentically. Emotional stability doesn't mean isolation. It means connection from a place of truth rather than dependence. The more honest you are about your emotional state, the more you grow. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's also where self-trust is built. True confidence isn't about never feeling fear. It's about moving forward despite it. Emotional awareness gives you the tools to understand fear instead of running from it. You start noticing that fear often disguises excitement or uncertainty, and instead of letting it stop you, you use it as information. That's what emotionally mature people do. They process emotions instead of avoiding them. Every time you confront discomfort, your nervous system adapts. What once triggered panic now becomes manageable. Over time, that creates deep-rooted self-assurance. You stop overthinking, you stop doubting, and you start acting from clarity. That's why emotionally aware men achieve more with less stress, because their energy isn't wasted on inner conflict. Emotional stability is also tied to gratitude. When you're constantly comparing yourself to others, you'll never feel confident. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. It grounds you in the now. It reminds you that confidence isn't about having everything. It's about appreciating what you already have and making the most of it. That mindset keeps your emotions balanced and your heart open. Gratitude softens anxiety and anchors you in peace. The more grateful you are, the more resilient you become, because gratitude reframes every situation. It turns problems into perspective. And that perspective keeps your emotional world steady even when life is unpredictable. Ultimately, emotional awareness and stability give you something far greater than surface-level confidence. They give you peace. You no longer chase validation or fear rejection. You no longer feel the need to prove your value. You simply know it. You carry yourself differently, you speak differently, and you love differently. People can sense when you're centered. It's in your posture, your tone, your presence. It's not loud, but it's powerful. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't need attention to exist. It simply is. It's the calm in your eyes, the patience in your words, the steadiness in your energy. And when you build that from emotional awareness and stability, you stop trying to convince the world of your worth because you've already convinced yourself. A healthy mindset and lifestyle are the foundation of every stable, confident, emotionally grounded man. You can't separate how you think from how you live. The mind and body are always in conversation, and the quality of that conversation determines how you feel, how you show up, and how you handle life. When your habits are chaotic, your emotions follow. When your thoughts are negative, your energy weakens. But when your lifestyle supports peace, clarity, and discipline, your mind naturally becomes stronger. Confidence and emotional balance are not accidents. They are built daily through the small choices you make when no one is watching. The way you sleep, what you eat, how you move, what you consume mentally, who you spend time with, these things shape your identity more than any single event ever could. You don't rise to the level of motivation, you fall to the level of your habits. That's why a healthy lifestyle isn't just physical maintenance, it's spiritual discipline. The first part of maintaining a healthy mindset is understanding that peace is not found, it's created. The world around you thrives on distraction, pressure, and performance. You're constantly being told what to chase: success, money, approval. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life running after things that don't feed your soul. A healthy mindset begins when you slow down long enough to ask yourself what actually matters. It's about learning to be intentional rather than reactive. Every time you choose stillness over noise, reflection over reaction, or gratitude over comparison, you strengthen your mind. Your brain learns patterns. If it's constantly fed anxiety, it will default to anxiety. If it's fed gratitude, it will begin to expect peace. A strong mindset is trained, not inherited. It's built in the quiet moments when you choose discipline over comfort and awareness over autopilot. One of the most powerful habits you can build for a healthy mindset is self-reflection. Most people are too busy to think about what they think. They go through their days reacting to life instead of observing it. But when you pause and reflect, when you take time to journal, pray, meditate, or simply sit in silence, you start to understand your patterns. You see what triggers you, what drains you, what inspires you. You begin to recognize the difference between what's happening and what you're telling yourself about it. That separation between thought and reality gives you control. You can't change what you don't see, and reflection is the act of seeing yourself clearly. It's how emotional healing begins, because every unhealthy reaction is usually an old one asking to be understood. A healthy mindset doesn't mean never feeling pain, it means learning from it instead of living in it. Your physical health directly affects your emotional state. A tired mind can't think clearly, and an unbalanced body can't hold peace. Sleep, movement, and nutrition might sound basic, but they are deeply psychological. When you sleep well, your brain processes emotions more effectively. When you move regularly, your body releases endorphins that reduce stress and increase focus. When you eat clean, your energy stabilizes, and with it your mood. People often chase confidence through mindset work while ignoring their physiology. But your mind can't thrive in a body that's neglected. The simplest way to start building mental strength is to take care of yourself physically, not for vanity, but for vitality. Exercise isn't just for muscles, it's for mental clarity. Clean eating isn't just for appearance, it's for emotional regulation. Sleep isn't laziness, it's recovery for the soul. When your body feels stable, your thoughts follow the same rhythm. A healthy lifestyle also means setting boundaries, not only with others, but with yourself. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It's not about restriction. It's about direction. Every time you say no to a distraction, you're saying yes to something greater. But modern life is designed to pull your attention in 100 directions. Social media, endless scrolling, constant comparison. These things drain your mental energy. A healthy mind requires conscious consumption. What you read, watch, and listen to all shape your worldview. If your inputs are chaotic, your emotions will be too. Protecting your mental space is an act of self-care. You can't control what happens in the world, but you can control what you allow to live rent-free in your head. That's why it's important to curate your environment, physically and digitally. Spend time with people who challenge you, not drain you. Listen to content that inspires growth, not confusion. Read things that expand your perspective rather than shrink it. The psychological principle of neuroplasticity proves that your brain changes based on what you repeatedly do. Every thought, habit, and experience rewires your neural pathways. This means your mindset isn't fixed, it's flexible. If you've lived years in negativity or self-doubt, you can literally train your brain to see differently. Gratitude, focus, and optimism aren't traits you're born with, they're muscles you strengthen through repetition. When you practice gratitude daily, your brain starts scanning for what's good instead of what's wrong. When you focus on progress instead of perfection, your self-worth grows. And when you approach life with curiosity instead of fear, you become emotionally resilient. A healthy mindset isn't about ignoring problems. It's about seeing them through the lens of growth rather than defeat. Stress management is another core part of emotional and mental health. Everyone experiences stress, but few people learn to process it. Most just suppress it until it explodes. Chronic stress rewires the brain to stay in survival mode, keeping you anxious, reactive, and emotionally drained. That's why practices like deep breathing, mindfulness, and time in nature are so effective. They signal to your nervous system that you're safe. You can't think clearly if your body thinks it's in danger. Learning to calm yourself under pressure is a skill that builds long-term stability. It teaches you that emotions are temporary waves and that you can ride them instead of drowning in them. Emotional regulation is what turns reaction into wisdom, and the more you practice it, the more control you gain over your peace. Your social circle has an enormous influence on your mindset. The people you spend time with either feed your growth or starve it. Energy is contagious. If you surround yourself with negativity, you'll absorb it. If you surround yourself with people who hold you accountable, challenge your thinking and support your growth, your mind expands. A healthy lifestyle includes healthy relationships. That doesn't mean perfection or agreement in everything. It means mutual respect and emotional safety. You can't maintain a peaceful mind in a toxic environment. Learn to recognize when someone constantly drains you, manipulates you, or keeps you in cycles of emotional instability. Letting go isn't cruelty, it's clarity. You can love people and still choose peace over proximity. The quality of your relationships often reflects the quality of your inner world. If you're grounded and authentic, you'll naturally attract people who operate from the same frequency. Self-talk is another hidden part of a healthy mindset. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you experience life. If your inner voice is constantly critical, judgmental, or pessimistic, it will be impossible to feel confident or at peace. You can't bully yourself into growth. Self-awareness without self-compassion becomes self-attack. To maintain a healthy mindset, you must learn to be firm but kind with yourself. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I failed" with "I grew." Replace "I'm not enough" with "I'm still becoming." Language matters because your subconscious listens. You're always programming your beliefs, whether you realize it or not. The goal isn't to become delusional with positivity, but to create a realistic optimism, one that acknowledges challenges while believing in your capacity to overcome them. Another key aspect of a healthy lifestyle is purpose. When you wake up with direction, your mind becomes focused and resilient. Without purpose, even comfort feels empty. Human beings are wired for meaning. We need something to serve, something to build, something to contribute to. It doesn't have to be grand or public. Your purpose can be in the way you work, create, help others, or improve yourself. Purpose anchors your thoughts, giving your struggles context. When life gets hard, purpose reminds you why you're enduring it. It's what turns pain into progress. That's why aimless living breeds anxiety, because the mind needs something to move toward. A healthy mindset requires vision. Without it, even success feels hollow. Forgiveness also plays a massive role in emotional health. Holding on to resentment is like carrying poison and expecting others to get sick. The longer you hold anger, the heavier it gets. Forgiveness doesn't excuse what happened. It frees you from reliving it. It releases your emotional energy so you can invest it elsewhere. Many people stay mentally stuck because they refuse to let go of what hurt them. But healing requires release. When you forgive, you're not saying, "It was okay." You're saying, "I'm done carrying this." That decision gives your mind room to breathe again. Forgiveness is not weakness. It's strength. It's emotional maturity in action. It's how you take back control from pain and return to peace. A healthy lifestyle also requires play and joy. Many adults forget how to enjoy life. They're so focused on goals, responsibilities, and image that they stop doing things that make them feel alive. Joy is not childish, it's necessary. Laughter, creativity, nature, music. These things remind your nervous system that life isn't just about survival. They reconnect you with gratitude. They regulate your emotions without effort. A healthy mind balances seriousness with spontaneity. It knows when to push and when to pause. Without joy, discipline turns into burnout. Without rest, progress turns into pressure. Your emotional health depends on giving yourself permission to enjoy the simple things again. A walk, a conversation, a quiet morning. A hobby with no purpose other than pleasure. You can't build a healthy mindset without confronting your fears. Most people's anxieties stem from avoidance. The things they refuse to face gain more power over them. When you begin to face discomfort intentionally, your confidence grows. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to walk through it. Each time you do something that scares you, your brain learns that fear isn't fatal. You expand your capacity for uncertainty, and that expansion strengthens your emotional independence. Facing your fears is emotional fitness. It's the mental equivalent of lifting heavier weights. It's uncomfortable at first, but it builds resilience. That's how a strong mind is formed, through repetition, discomfort, and reflection. Mindfulness ties all of this together. It's the practice of being fully present in your life rather than lost in your head. Most of our suffering comes from overthinking the past or worrying about the future. Mindfulness teaches you to anchor in the now, to breathe, to observe, to accept. When you're present, your emotions stop controlling you because you're no longer resisting them. You begin to experience life as it is, not as your fears or projections imagine it to be. That's the essence of peace. It's not the absence of chaos, but awareness within it, and that awareness gives you emotional space, the ability to choose your response instead of reacting impulsively. Over time, mindfulness rewires your nervous system to stay calm even under stress. It becomes a habit of peace. Building a healthy mindset and lifestyle also means staying consistent even when motivation fades. Motivation is emotion-based, discipline is value-based. A healthy mind knows that not every day will feel good, but every day is an opportunity to choose what's good for you. Consistency compounds. The same way bad habits quietly destroy confidence, good habits quietly rebuild it. Every morning you wake up early, every workout you complete, every time you choose patience over anger, you're rewiring your identity. Confidence is a byproduct of keeping promises to yourself. Emotional balance is the reward for showing up even when you don't feel like it. Over time, those small, boring, disciplined choices become the backbone of a powerful, peaceful mind. A healthy mindset also requires humility. Growth means admitting you don't know everything, that you still have blind spots, that you still make mistakes. Humility keeps you teachable, and teachability keeps you evolving. Arrogance freezes growth because it convinces you there's nothing left to learn. But a humble man never stops improving. He's aware of his strengths but not blinded by them. He can take feedback without defensiveness. That humility is emotional strength. It shows that your ego no longer controls you. The more humble you are, the more adaptable you become. And adaptability is one of the purest forms of intelligence. It means you can adjust without losing yourself. Ultimately, a healthy mindset and lifestyle are about alignment. When your actions reflect your values, when your habits support your peace, when your mind and body move in the same direction, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but clearer. You stop chasing happiness and start living with purpose. You stop pretending to be strong and start becoming strong. You stop trying to control everything and start mastering yourself. That's what real confidence and emotional independence are built on. The quiet daily work of aligning your life with what truly matters. It's not a destination, it's a way of living. And when you live that way, you radiate something rare, calm strength, grounded energy, and a peace that doesn't depend on circumstance.